Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Cavletics, an inside look into the athletics department here at Bossier Parish Community College. I'm your host, Charlie Cavell, and today we're going to run away because we're talking cross country with second-year head coach, Bipsy cross-country coach Kent Falting. Kent, welcome to the show. Thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you got a busy day today, but thanks for visiting with us today.
Thanks for having me. We're very excited. We got a home meet today, and we're pumped.
For those of you that may or may not be familiar with Coach Kent Falting, let me give you some background on the man I consider to be the guru when it comes to distance running, particularly in our neck of the woods here in Northwest Louisiana. Kent has been the head coach, cross-country and track coach at Parkway High School for the last 14 years, compiling one of the most impressive records in North Louisiana. He has led his Parkway Panther teams to 2 state championships, 3 state runner-up finishes, and 14 district titles. He has coached 16 individual state title winners in track and cross-country, as well as 7 All-American finishers. He was Louisiana's nominee for the National Cross Country Coach of the Year in 2014 and was the Louisiana Sports Writers Association Cross Country Coach of the Year here in the state of Louisiana last year. In addition to his coaching duties, Falting serves as the Mathematics Department Chair at Parkway High School. He's a published author, releasing a book titled Motivated Runners Find a Way a while back. And he's also coached girls soccer. So, and oh, by the way, he has a wife and children. And Kent, where in the world do you find the time to do all that you do?
I have a lot of alarms set in my phone. So, it's a task, but I got a great support group. My wife and kids put up with a lot. They're involved in the sport. Both of my kids run, and so I get to see them a lot. And got great assistants, and we just make it work. It's 24 hours in a day. We use every one of them.
Well, last year was your first year at Bipsy. When you took the job here at Bossier Parish, what were your goals for the Bipsy cross country program?
I guess the first goal was to get to the point where if a kid came and ran here, we got to extend their future beyond 2 years of running and get them looked at by some 4-year universities. We wanted to put out something respectable the first year. We wanted to be competitive in conference the first year and go get our feet wet at nationals.
Well, we talk overall goals, but were there short-term goals and then long-term goals? Could you maybe, expound on the difference that you may have had between the short and long-term?
Oh, absolutely. Early on was trying to figure out what kind of product we could put out there. So we really short-term wanted to get some young men and women of character that were committed to the process, and we didn't want to go and be racing against these major universities and be kind of like the little kid getting stepped on. And so it was very important for us very early in the season to go and be competitive, and that took a huge commitment from the runners, dedicating their summer last summer to being prepared so that when we started in August we could hit the ground running, and I thought we did really well with that. Long-term goals, we're looking at, how can we get a kid ready for the next step, and how can we get Bipsy recognized on a national level with what we're doing?
What goals have you met? Obviously, you had a pretty good year last year, particularly on the men's side, but what goals have you met, and which goals are you hoping to try to achieve this year as well as in the years to come?
Sure. So we won conference last year. That was a huge deal for us. I know it was a big deal for Bipsy as well. I think I moved into the Texas conference over a decade ago, and it's highly competitive. And so we were very excited that we worked ourselves into a situation where we could be that successful. And that was almost ahead of the curve for what my timetable was. We went to nationals last year with the boys and got 34th, which was positive, but we thought we could do a little bit better. And so we're looking to try to be one of the top 25 teams at nationals nationals this year. We're looking to defend our title in a conference. We've added a full girls program finally. Last year we had 2 very dedicated girls, but it takes 5 to count as a team. And so we've got some small term goals for the girls to start getting some success and developing that program. And then, again, being able to compete against 4-year universities to get these kids an opportunity. We took a few young men over to some track meets late in the year just to get their feet wet with that. And we won the 5K at a major, 4-year D2 school's track meet, and that was awesome. Again, ahead of the curve, and so we've got bigger plans there too.
Let's talk about the men's team for a minute. You have basically an entire team back from last year, which can be a positive or a negative. I've learned at the junior college level, it's not always a positive when you have returning athletes. Which is it for your men's team?
It's more of a positive. I mean, there's a little bit of a mix there. And, the negative is anytime that success comes early, there kind of becomes an expectation that you don't have to do as much work to be successful. Like, oh, well, we surprised ourselves and this happened. So that's about the only negative. We've kind of had to regroup and remind people of how did we get so successful so quickly? What is it going to take? I think we have tremendous upperclassmen leadership here. We brought on, like I said, a full girls team now, and then 2 young men that came on board with us as recruits. And the guys that have been here and through the program, they've done a great job of helping us have a culture and not just a team. And I think that's a huge positive impact of having a returning group of everybody. And so it's been a blessing.
Tell us about the young men on the Bipsy cross country team. Who are your best runners? Who are some of your leaders, as you talked about, making that culture instead of just a team and a program? Who are some of your newcomers as well?
The big 3 on our team are the first 3 kids we signed a year ago. Xavier Wilson is our number 1 runner. He was second place in our conference last year. Finished very well at nationals. He's coming back on a mission to try to be the conference MVP. Austin Jacobson, who I coached at Parkway and came on board here, and RJ Miller from Bossier High School. Those 3, they lead the way. The gun goes off, that they move themselves up to the lead. They're looking back and kind of encouraging teammates to push forward. I think that those 3 are on a mission this year to help us reach our goals and to be signing papers again in the spring to move on and keep running. We added 2 new recruits this year, Roderick Short from Mansfield and Scott Perez from Parkway. I've been tremendous admirers of them. They're all 4 years in high school. They're great kids. They bought into what we're doing. One of them brings tremendous speed. Roderick was an 800 runner in high school, and so he's adapting to the longer distances. And Scott brings tremendous power with him. So it's kind of like thunder and lightning for us, and we're glad to have them, and they complement the program well. 2
things I want to do real quickly is ask you about, one, maybe explain to our viewers the difference between the men's run, the length of the race, and the women's, and also, if you would, expound a little bit on, most of your, almost entirely both men's and women's teams are comprised of athletes from this area, from this region. Is the hope to, once the program continues to grow, to be able to bring in runners from outside the area and outside the region?
Sure. So first and foremost for the races, a men's race, in high school they were used to running 3 miles. We bumped them all the way up to 8K, which is 4.96 miles. So it's a definite change in distance from what they are used to. I mean, we're almost training them to double what they're used to racing. And then the girls actually get a small bump. They go from 3 miles to 5K. So, I mean, we're talking about an extra 45 seconds of running for them. It's a much smoother transition for the girls when they dive into this college running experience than the guys. As far as the culture we're getting here with local athletes, when I met with our AD, John Rennie, in the beginning, I told him that there's a gold mine here in Bossier and Shreveport and the surrounding areas that we could tap that was going untapped by a lot of people. And so our theme has always been 60 miles. Get every athlete we can get within 60 miles. And I think we're starting to get the attention of a lot of people where we can start branching this thing out a lot more. I've got colleges contacting me asking, how can we get kids to come through your pipeline to go to our pipeline? And so we're working on some things to grow this thing even further. But I think that we're getting in a situation where BIPSI is going to be one of those names that people hear about year after year in the distance world. And once that happens, those kids will be coming in.
Well, and just to add to your point, Castor, Benton, Bossier City, and Mansfield. Those are where the entire list of runners are from. And you scheduled the team's first meet for August 30th. Was using this meet as sort of a measuring stick because of such the early date? Were you using it as a measuring stick to see where this team is coming out of the summer?
Yes and no. I mean, one priority is to go ahead and get some kind of idea of where we're at. The race at Laterno was a 5K for the men, so it was a little shorter distance to kind of gauge where we're standing before we get our full footing in the 8K. But another thing is the active training to be a cross-country runner involves a lot of just running. These guys run for 6 straight months and don't have a race to their name during that time. So getting them a chance to finally see what all the work was for and get them excited about the idea of racing was a real big part of scheduling something so early.
By the way, you mentioned that extra 45 seconds. That may not be a lot to them, but for you and me, I think that's probably a little much.
That's out of my wind max.
That meet on August 30th was the Nicole Lehman Invitational hosted by Laterno University in Longview, Texas. The Cavaliers finishing third in that meet. Tell us your thoughts about the team's performance. You touched on it a little bit, but tell us about your overall thoughts on not just the team, but the runners involved's performance.
Sure. There's some positives and some negatives. Having not raced in so long and kind of having that antsiness and jitteriness, our guys opened very hard because they were just ready to race. And you got to remind yourself sometime that opening hard for the first mile, there's still 4 more to go. And so I think we came to that realization. So part of that learning moment of running so early, people realizing, gosh, I kind of burnt myself out trying to get racing and be excited about it. So that part was a little bit of a struggle, but we did have Xavier Wilson got the top 10 overall. Us and Jacksonville College were the only 2-year universities there, so everyone else was a 4-year. So 7th against a good group of people was great. Last year, I think we finished last when we raced there. We got dominated by teams like ETBU. This year we beat ETBU. And again, that's part of the goal. It's nice to know that we have something to offer ETBU now if they want to come after our kids. There's some kids that can fit into their program because we showed them we can run with those guys. A couple hiccups here and there, but a good start.
We'll come back to that point later on. Sophomore Xavier Wilson was BIPSI's top runner, posting a time of 17 minutes, 27 seconds, 27.3 to be exact. To finish 7th overall, sophomores Austin Jacobson and R.J. Miller finished 11th and 12th respectively. Were you pleased with their individual performances and the rest of the team?
I again, very happy with those 3 guys getting out there, putting themselves in a good place. And then even though they kind of burnt out a little bit, holding on and not really losing any ground is great. I think that they realized had they opened about 30 seconds slower, we could have put all 3 in the top 10. And, that's our mission tonight is to kind of change the way we open the race for our meet here. But I was very happy with that. Roderick, one of our newcomers, he was very smart about kind of holding back a little in the first one. He did the exact opposite. This is my first college race. I don't know what to expect. I'm going to kind of see what's happening. And so through the last mile, he passed about 15 runners to secure a pretty good spot for our team. So we were very impressed with that. And I haven't mentioned him today, but we're really, really impressed with Peyton Sisterhin, who joined last year with not a lot of running experience. He was the 5th man, is kind of the anchor of the team. Last year was the 5th man toward the end, and really helped us out. And he's come back and really kind of pushed the middle group, held those guys accountable, and he's making an impact on where we finish as a team. So I'm very pleased with how he's running as well.
Your Region 14 rival, Jacksonville College, won the meet. How big of a concern is that for you? I mean, it's the first meet of the year, but you know that you're going to face them, and that is your competition in this region.
So we schedule a lot of races against Jacksonville. We raced them at every meet but one last year, and this year it'll be something pretty similar. They are a rival. Last year they beat us at the first meet, and then we came back and did well throughout the year. I think when we talked about the detriment of the veteran team was they thought beating Jacksonville would come easy, and it's not. I'm really good friends with Coach Kirby Shepard. He has built a really, really good team of freshmen this year. He kind of started his program over. What they're doing is amazing, and I think the difference between their team and ours is that their team's goal for this year is to beat us. Our team's goal for this year is to finish higher on a national level. So I'm hoping that as things go and that mission works through, we'll be okay against those guys and be able to go beyond that.
We're going to take a brief time out right now, but stay tuned because following the break, we'll have more with Bipsy Cross Country coach Kent Falting. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
If you're into basketball for fun and fitness, or would like to be, heeding a few hints can help you up your game. First, when shooting, square up to the basket with both feet pointing at it. Make sure your power is coming from your legs, not your arms, and remember to follow through on your shot. Next, for your passes to be more than passable, don't throw directly at the players you want to catch them. Throw to where those players will be, so no one has to slow down to catch the pass. When your teammates have the ball, create passing lanes so they can hit you with the pass. Use your hands to create targets. Don't watch the ball when you dribble it. Keep your head up. Also, try to learn to dribble with either hand. When playing defense, know where your opponents are. When a shot goes up, face the basket while boxing the closest opponent out. That way, even if you don't catch the rebound, perhaps a teammate will.
It's time to join forces. Get energized. And fuel up right. Because starting today, every kid in America has a mission. Bring out the action hero in you. Be part of the greatest action movie ever. The first movie that puts you in the action. Show us how you train and eat like an action hero. Join in at actionheroalliance.com.
When you earn your GED diploma, the barriers in your life fall. Take the first step and get free GED information in your area at 1-877-38-YOUR-GED or yourged.org. Earn your GED diploma and begin your brighter future.
Welcome back to Cavletics. I'm Charlie Cavell, and today we're visiting with Bipsy Cross Country coach Kent Falting. Before the break, we were talking about the Bipsy men's cross country team. Let's move forward and talk about the women's team and what's in store for the program this year. But before we do that, Kent, tell us how cross country and track differ from other junior college sports, basketball, what have you, in that cross country and track in junior college participates in meets right alongside four-year schools. How beneficial is that to your athletes?
I I think it's a huge deal. I think there's always a question if you're a four-year coach of how will this kid stack up in our program, and they get a chance to see it right off the bat. When we went to Southern Arkansas last year and our top two guys beat Southern Arkansas's team in the 5K, that got some attention. There's some eyes opening there going, well, look, if we get these guys, that we know these guys can help us, and it's a nice equalizer too, that times don't really lie. If you're a basketball player and you score 20 points against a weaker team, that might not translate well to the next level. Or if you're a baseball player hitting against a pitcher pitching 70 versus 90, but if you run a 420 mile, you're a 420 miler, no matter where in the world you run that. And so it's definitely given us, I think, an advantage in terms of recruiting for our kids to get seen and for coaches to understand what they're looking at.
Just for me personally, I think it's a great deal. It's a great deal for Bossier Parish Community College, but especially for those young men and women to have that chance. People can argue about what the goal is for junior colleges, but it's to get your athletes to the next level, whatever
Absolutely.
level that may be, whether it's NAIA, Division II, Division III, or Division I. And this, running alongside those four-year schools you mentioned, is great for those young people, and they can see where they need to get to, but also that coach, as you mentioned, from the four-year school sees, hey, this young person can help, this athlete can help our program.
Absolutely.
So, before we turn our attention to the women's program, tell us a little about your new assistant coach, Chuck McVie, who took over for Aaron McGee. Aaron, I know you and Aaron have been best friends for a long, long time, and hated to see him go, but he got a promotion and is now an assistant principal at Houghton High School. But tell us a little bit about Chuck.
Sure. We do miss Aaron. I've grown up with Aaron for forever. He's like a brother to me. Chuck McBee and I met a couple of years ago at Parkway, and Chuck is the kind of guy that once he makes a friend, he just wants to do anything to help. So he's helped me out when I inherited girls soccer last year. He came on board.
By the way, great job with the Lady Panthers.
Thank you. A couple goals from the semifinals wasn't too bad for first start. But Chuck drove the bus. Chuck came and warmed up the goalies and stuff. And this year, Chuck decided to go on a different career path. He got out of teaching at Parkway, and he's in sales. And it really opened the door for him to fit into this environment. And he's just a guy that, the kind of guy, like, whatever you need, I'm here to do it. I don't mind doing the grunt work. I don't mind being the guy that loads the vehicles. I don't mind being the guy that's the rah-rah guy. And he does a great job in every facet. He runs our weight room here now, and that's a new thing we added to our program was weightlifting. And he comes here and meets with the team and does that weightlifting stuff for us. He drives the van for us to the meets, and at the meets, he's the guy that I can put at the 2 mile mark and tell those guys, look, you got to pass 2 more guys, or we got to pick it up, and they respond well to him, and it just works. It's a really good fit, and the culture we've created here, you can't just have anybody come in, and he's a guy that fits in well with us.
I know one of the goals for you as well as athletic director John Rennie was to bolster the women's cross country team. Last year you had just a couple of runners, as you mentioned earlier. How has that effort progressed?
Thank God for the city of Castor.
Rich, expound on that a little bit, because most people, if they even know where Castor is, the biggest name, obviously, now Hall of Famer Lee Smith, the most famous graduate of Castor High School, but they're one of the small schools in the state, a Class B, Class C program. They bounce back. That has a track program and has a beautiful track at their high school.
Coach Steve Cortez and I have known each other for a while now, being in the high school community together. He's done a tremendous job. They come to Parkway's meet every year. We have 40 teams, and for a school that small, they're finishing the top 10 every year. So he's developed a culture that we like. We were blessed to run into Brittany Holland when we were talking about people's interest in our sport. And she did a good job of kind of recruiting for us. She brought 2 of her teammates on board with us, and we're excited to see what the 3 young ladies can do, joining with Catherine Parker, who's coming back this year, that did a tremendous job. She was all conference last year for us, and then Marlena Tejada that we got from Bossier High School, who is a really strong runner, and I think will make an immediate impact.
Well, and so I was going to ask you about some of your returning runners. The only one is Catherine Parker, and we were talking during the break to how it's been beneficial to Catherine to have runners of the same ilk, if you will, or in her class, to be able to push her and talk about that.
You got to give credit to Catherine. There's a book titled "The Loneliness of the Long Distance Runner," and it refers to a runner who's elite and kind of running by himself and not having training partners. Well, for Catherine, the loneliness of the long distance runner was she was the only runner. By the time we got into the spring this year, so she's put in a lot of effort by herself, and it's hard to stay motivated in a sport like this when it's just you. Adding somebody of the talent level of Marlena to come and run with her has pushed her. She's excited and invigorated. It's given Marlena kind of a bar to have to get over as well, and I think those two are just going to continue to make each other faster as we go.
Either men or women, is there one runner in particular you're hoping or expecting, if you will, to have a big year?
I mean, in my heart of hearts, Austin Jacobson and I have been together. This is year 6 of being together. And I mean, I like and I always think people should favor the kid who puts in the hard work. Austin started out, as a little scrawny 90-pound kid running for me when I met him as a freshman. And he's just kind of grown into himself. He's run more miles than anybody I've ever met. That I've coached, and I'm ready for those miles to pay off, and I'm looking forward to watching him kind of be a proud coach / dad in that situation. So I'm excited.
Today, your teams compete in the second of 5 meets as you're hosting the Border Dash Invitational at South Bossier Park. How difficult is it for you to put on a cross-country meet? And, tell us a little bit about the meet, who's competing, and for those that don't know maybe exactly where the South Bossier Park is.
Sure. Well, first and foremost, if you would like to come out there tonight to see the college meet, it's completely free to spectators tonight. We want the college experience to just be kind of a fun party. We're not looking to kind of make any money or capitalize anything like that. We just want these kids to be celebrated in their sport. South Bossier Park is on Capeless Sligo Road, right off of Sligo Road in South Bossier. So if you can make it to Sligo Road coming from Houghton or Bossier City, once you turn on Sligo, it's one turn to get to the park. Turn on Capeless Sligo Road and you'll see the park. As far as hosting a meet, I started this meet 10 years ago with my goal of building something pretty successful. It's the largest meet in North Louisiana in terms of turnout. We have from elementary, middle, high school, and college, we have over 1,000 runners expected to be out there over the weekend. So I'll be there from the college meet tonight all the way through the end of the day tomorrow running these athletes. And it doesn't work, but it's neat because I've always been the kind of guy that if you want something done right, do it yourself. If you want to have a good meet, work hard to put it on. And we're trying to build the college division. Last year we had 4 teams come, counting us, and we've upped it to 5. I think the level of competition in terms of athletes running has gotten higher, and I think we're going to continue to see more and more teams coming out there. Today we've got a mix. Us in Jacksonville, Jarvis Christian, Texas College, and Louisiana College. And again, these are places where if our kids are running and performing, maybe somebody gives them some attention to come and run for them as well. So we're excited, and it's the first 8K for the guys. It's the first race for the girls. So it'll be very telling and kind of dictate where we go training-wise from there. But I couldn't be more happy about tonight getting here quickly.
Well, Kent, we wish you and your teams the best of luck today. And folks, you want to show your support for the Bipsy Cross Country teams, please head out to South Bossier Park. As you mentioned, off of Sligo Road on Capeless Sligo Road. We actually kind of know where that is. In South Bossier for today's Border Dash. That's all the time we have for today. I hope you've enjoyed our visit with Bipsy Cross Country coach Kent Faulting. Join us again next Friday as we bring you the latest on Bossier Parish Community College Cavalier Athletics. I'm Charlie Cavell bidding you a good sports day.